Hey guys, Ben here, 3dgladiator.com, and in this tutorial I will take a look at the interface colors, and we are going to adjust some of the canvas settings that can be found under the document palette. So first let me expand the left tray and I drag and drop the color palette over here. And I want to point out this main color swatch first, so when I click and drag, the cursor turns into a color picker. And I can basically now sample every color that's underneath the color picker. It doesn't matter if it's from an icon on the interface or a 3D model on the canvas in case I've drawn a model. And in this case, I pick the default gray here and store this value in the main color swatch. And then I go over here to this main and main 2. And let's go crazy with these for a second and choose something that makes our interface pretty much useless. So this is just to give you an idea that you can make ZBrush your very personal ZBrush. I restore these to the default gray and I change the background color of the switch button and the handles. Do this for the handles of the sliders here too. Very nice. So what I also usually do is I invert the colors of these push buttons so they are a little bit easier to see. First I set the color of the main swatch back to white and I drag and drop or pick the white color here, and as you can see the background of the push buttons changes to white or a light gray. And I do the same for the text and pick the black color here, and last but not least I change the opacity to 70. So in this case, whenever I draw a model on the canvas and turn it into a polymesh 3D and go to the geometry subpalette, all the buttons are clearly visible now and everything is nice and organized. Alright then, let's take a look at some of the opacity settings. I open up the preference palette here and go down to the pop-up opacity and move the slider up and down, and you can already see that this changes the transparency of the palette background. So I usually set it to something like 19. And then I go down to the quick info opacity and move the slider to 100%. So what this does is whenever you hover over an item on the interface and hold the control key, the quick info box pops up and that makes the background solid gray and makes the text a little bit easier to read. When you are done with the adjustments, don't forget to go to the preference palette and open up the config subpalette and store the current configuration or save the user interface so the adjustments are still there when you close and reopen ZBrush the next time. Next, let's take a look at some of the canvas settings. They can be found in the document palette, so I drag and drop it over here. And the very first thing I always do after a fresh installation is I get rid of this gradient background here. So I change the slider from 0.5 to 0. And let's also change the background color and make it a little bit darker so we can distinguish the canvas from the rest of the user interface. And then I hide the transformation border here. So basically what it does is, let's say you zoom in very close because you work on some fine details. And when the model covers the entire canvas, you cannot rotate or scale anymore because you would affect the surface by clicking on it. And for this reason, you have this transformation border here. So when you come close to the edge of the canvas and behind this border, you can zoom in and rotate the model without applying any brush strokes to the surface. So of course I like this feature, but I prefer the transformation borderline to be hidden, and therefore I go under preferences, edit, and disable this draw transformation border, and the feature still works. Of course you can change the canvas size or better the resolution of the canvas, so I deactivate this proportion mode here and enter some random pixel values, let's say something like this. And before I resize the canvas, I exit the edit mode and clear the canvas by hitting Ctrl N on the keyboard. And then I click on resize. Yes, I would like to resize. And the canvas resizes to whatever pixel values I've entered here. Whenever you would like to extend the canvas to the available space here, there is no guesswork needed. All you have to do is activate this fit window size and click on new document. No, I don't want to save any changes. And let's change the color to a lighter gray. And as you can see, the canvas fits perfectly into the space here. The last thing I would like to point out here are these scroll, zoom, actual and anti-alias half buttons. I draw our model to the canvas again and change the background color to a darker gray. What they do, they actually look pretty similar to these buttons here, where I can move the model around and zoom in and zoom out and rotate the model, but they do something different. They allow me to move the entire canvas around and zoom in and zoom out. And whenever I click on the actual or the 0 key on the keyboard, it gets framed or centered again. And you have also probably noticed that we deal with some jagged edges here. And that's because the canvas is not in the anti-alias mode. Let's press this button here or Ctrl 0 on the keyboard. And what it does is it displays the document at half its size. It makes everything smaller, and at the same time you can see that the alias effect around the edges disappears. When I make screenshots for quick presentation, I usually do this. I go to the actual size and exit the edit mode again, clear the canvas, and double the canvas size, yes. Enter the anti-alias mode, press Ctrl 0 on the keyboard, draw the model again on the canvas, enter the edit mode, and now I have the full canvas available in anti-alias mode to make screenshots for presentation. Instead of doubling the window size and entering the anti-alias mode, you can also do the following. I exit the edit mode and Ctrl and clear the canvas and set the canvas size to half again. Draw the model on the canvas, enter the edit mode, and as you can see, our jagged edges are back. And instead of entering this anti-alias half mode, just create a render, a best preview render, and the slider here is usually set to 3, and it controls the quality of the render and is responsible for getting rid of the alias effect on all the edges here. So let's make a quick render and see what it looks like. This results in a very clean presentation of the model. Alright, that's it for this part, and in the next tutorial I will talk about this enable customize button here, and I reorganize and rearrange some of the interface items and tools. So see you in the next video.